Mr. Scott, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot has been said about the PRO Act and how it undermines the right to work law. The PRO Act does not require you to join a union. It does require you to pay your fair share of the expenses generated by things you benefit from when the union hires lawyers and accountants and you get a higher pay, or if you get individual representation because they provide individual representation to union members. Those costs cost money, and the PRO Act just requires you to pay your fair share of those expenses, not the costs of the holiday party or the union cookout in the summer or voter registration activities. Those things that you're actually benefiting from, but you're not required to join the union. Ms. Schultz, on independent contractor, we've heard a lot. If you're misclassified as an independent contractor rather than an employee, do you lose your right to minimum wage and overtime?
Yes, you do. Do
you lose your right to unemployment insurance if you lose your job?
Yes, you do.
And workers' comp if you get hurt on the job?
You lose that too.
So who is actually choosing to classify people as independent contractors?
It's good.
We hear that it sounds like the employees are want to be independent contractors. Is that the case?
What we see is that workers, when they are misclassified as independent contractors, lose thousands every year, like truckers. We did an analysis, I can put it in the record, that truckers lose $11,000 to $18,000 a year when they're misclassified as independent contractors. It is not a model that works for workers. We don't have any workers on this panel. If we ask the workers, we know what they know that they lose. And then the other thing that I just wanted to make sure to correct, because there was some mistakes talked about it. There was a comment that the joint employer rule, that the NLRB joint employer rule would cost franchisors $33 billion. That was an IFA study that was terribly designed. It had a sample size of 54, and they were all IFA members. So we did a really rigorous analysis showing that the NLRB joint employer rule would raise wages for workers by $1 billion.
Thank you. We've heard social supports. People don't work because of they're getting social support. Was there a study done about the impact of some states eliminating the $600 plus up for unemployment compensation and other states not doing it? What was the result?
Yeah, that's one of the things. If it were true that pandemic unemployment insurance benefits really were keeping people out of the labor force en masse, then you should have seen a flooding back into the labor force once those things expired, and that did not happen. If you look at time series of what happened with the labor force when pandemic unemployment insurance expired, you can't see a blip. It just does not show up. It was not the thing that was keeping people out of the labor force. It was the pandemic.
Is there any evidence that raising the minimum wage gradually costs jobs?
What we know from the vast evidence in labor economics of what the economic impacts of increasing the minimum wage is that they raise wages, they reduce inequality, and they do not cause substantial job loss.
Now, we've heard a lot of disparaging comments about today's economy. I just refer people to the chart behind me. The pre-pandemic economy versus the post-pandemic economy. Can you make any comments? And I would also point out that President Biden produced over almost 500,000 jobs a month during a pandemic when President Trump was losing record number of jobs during the pandemic. And he did it, President Biden did it while he was lowering the deficit. Can you make any comments about the relative economy?
Yeah, one of the things that we've heard is that the economy going at the end of the Trump administration was really strong. That's actually true, but it wasn't because of Trump policies. Trump inherited an unemployment rate that was steadily going down. an employment rate that was steadily going up. If you look at those time series, you can't see where Trump took office. Nobody gets to take credit for just sustaining an existing trend. And then what we do know is that the Biden administration, with like the American Recovery Plan, absolutely drove the incredibly strong jobs recovery that we have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yield back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scott.